Yeah, good. So I'm performing in a primary school. And I've been going from class to class, and all the kids that I was telling stories to, they were 5 or 6 or 7. And at the end of the day, suddenly I find myself in a class of 12-year-olds. Now, there's been some kind of miscommunication. I wasn't supposed to perform for this age group, and I have nothing prepared for them. And suddenly I realized that instead of racking my brain and finding a story that's more age appropriate, instead, I will take one of the stories that I told to the younger ones and say, listen, these stories, they're not for small children. Eh? They might sound very simple, but actually they have a message that applies to you, to me, to anyone, to everyone, right? And the kids, they become quiet and very interested. And in this silence, I start to tell my story, right? Now, the story is the story of a forest. And like most forests, there is a king, which is a lion. And I tell them that the lion, sometimes in some forests, is a gentle lion, a good lion. But this one is a horrible lion. It's a nasty lion. This lion is one that jumps from behind a tree and suddenly is on top of you before you even knew he was there and eats you and leaves nothing, right? Only some grieving brothers and sisters and parents and grandparents. And that the animals in this forest are incredibly upset about having to live under this lion. And that they have a plan, or at least a meeting to discuss a plan to get rid of this horrible lion. Now, sitting there in a circle, these animals, they come up with things that they can do. They decide that maybe fighting is the way to go, but they realize that no one is strong enough. Well, maybe the rhinoceros. But he realizes that he's not fast enough, and with his little eyes, he will be looking for the lion, who will run 3 circles around him and then bite him in the ass, right? Or maybe they should outrun the lion, but then they realize that the quick animals can maybe manage, but the slow ones will surely be eaten and perish. And finally, it's the owl that says, I have a plan. I have a plan that maybe you will not enjoy all of you. You might not even think it's the best of plans, but it is what we can live with. It is something that will make our lives much easier because, you see, we're so afraid every day that we don't know when we're going to get eaten, right? And this insecurity, it is horrible for us. So what if we get together every morning like we do just now? And what if we just pick the person who will get eaten? And that's horrible for that person, of course, and we will acknowledge that. But the rest can go on with their lives. And since no one has a better plan, this is exactly what they do in that forest. Every day they get together and they go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And like this, they pick the person who will be eaten by the lion, who absolutely loves this new constellation in his forest. Every day he sits there under the shadow of his tree, and every day, exactly at around lunchtime, an animal is presented to him. And then he has his fill, and he enjoys the rest of the day, just being lazy like a lion actually wants to be. And this is repeated the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Now, the animals in the forest, you might think that they're happy, but actually, no, they're not. So it's no surprise that one day they get together to do the eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and a rabbit, a tiny little rabbit, suddenly jumps up and says, I will go. And they say, what, rabbit? You will go where? I will go to the lion. But rabbit, if you go to the lion, you will be eaten. That's fine. I have a plan. Oh, a plan. Okay, fine. Well, let him go. Saves us the chance of being picked. And it's the rabbit that day that goes to the lion, who's there waiting for his lunch to arrive. But at the time that the lunch usually comes, nothing arrives, right? And 30 minutes later, again, nothing comes. An hour later, his stomach is growling with hunger. And let me tell you, the only thing more dangerous than a wild, ferocious lion is a wild, ferocious lion that's hungry, right? And it's at that moment when the lion has decided that he will start hunting again, and to teach them a lesson, will hunt 3 animals every day, that suddenly an out-of-breath bunny comes towards him, hopping towards him, and says, Lion, something horrible happened. Well, of course something horrible happened. I am waiting for my food. I'm starving. No, something even worse. You see, I was bringing you your food. What do you mean you were bringing my food? Aren't you the food? No. Actually, it's my cousin who looks very much like me. And the 2 of us were going to you. I thought, it's our last day together. And another lion appeared in the forest, jumped on my cousin and took it away, even though I was protesting. And I said, no, this is the food of our king. And this lion even said, I don't care, and disappeared. but I followed them, and this is why I'm late. And let me show you. Come, follow me. And the lion, growling, wondering if it's true, decides to give the bunny a chance. So here we are. The bunny going through the forest, hop, 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 and the lion following him. Wow. And the bunny hop, 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 and the lion, until they find themselves in the clearing of a forest where there is a well. Now here, the bunny and the lion, they decide to look in. And the lion sees that what the bunny said is completely true. Because from the bottom, there is a bunny looking up and a lion also looking up. And at this, the lion looks at his rival and says to the bunny, look at that, what an ugly lion that is. Well, I will teach him a lesson. And he growls into the well at his rival to show him that he is the king of the forest. Now, of course, if you growl at a lion in a well, the lion in the well will growl back at you much, much louder. Goes the lion in the well. And the lion outside of the well, the king of the forest, decides that he is a loud growler. But it doesn't matter, because he as the king has the sharpest claws. He as the king has the most ferocious teeth. And with these claws and with these teeth, he will teach him a lesson. And he jumps up and he goes down. And at that, suddenly we hear plunks as the lion falls into the water. Now, of course, this I have to explain to you, because the kids, they get it immediately, but adults, I don't know. You see, there was no lion, there was no bunny. It was just a reflection in the water. Get it? Yes? Right? And as the lion begs for his life and drowns, because the bunny doesn't help him, of course, we know that there is many forests where many lions are kings, but there is actually one where it's a bunny, a friendly one, who sits on his throne and is only paid in piles and piles of carrots. And there, they are very happy. Now, when I told this story to the kids, I told them that this story actually is a story that my father told me when I asked him why we had left Iran, why we couldn't stay. You see, I was very little when we left Iran. And my father used this story to explain it to me. Now, the moment that I finished this and I explained this to the kids, one of the kids suddenly raised their hands and said, "Sir, I know this story." And I thought, wow, great. You know the story of the lion and the bunny? And she said, no. Not actually literally the lion and the bunny, but I know this story from the Bible. And I thought to myself, you know, I've read the Bible. I never heard the story of the lion and the bunny. But she said, no, this is the story of Moses and the Pharaoh, right? Now, my first instinct was to think of my communist father, who didn't have the most amazing thoughts about religion. But then I thought, you know what? Maybe this is what storytelling is. The stories that all of us connect with, whether we're atheist communists or religious, whether we're Muslims or Christians, we all need to hear the stories of the ferocious lions and the bunnies that get rid of them.